So many of my clients that struggle with binge eating, they really see their binge eating as a means of sabotaging their success and more evidence that they can't control themselves around food, because at the time they know what they know, they don't know what they don't know about binge eating. So when we start working together and we really get down to the science behind binge eating, it completely changes their perspective and really helps dissipate all that guilt and shame that they've been putting on themselves about their binge eating. So I'm excited to share some of that science with you here today. So first, what is binge eating? Well, binge eating is basically an industrial strength overeating episode. So it's intense. And oftentimes it's associated with the term compulsive eating. Maybe that's the term that you've used. And the term compulsion is defined as that which we must do, meaning it has to happen. Negotiation isn't available. Mindfulness ain't on the table. So binge eating then, it's not like binge watching Netflix where you're feeling all positive and cozy on the couch and oops, you got a little mindless with those chips. Right? That's not binge eating. Binge eating is way more powerful. It's a lot more negative. And so in fact, we consider binge eating as an out of control behavior, compulsive behavior, that serves as a balancing act for a place in our life where we're in tight control. What? Let's rewind that and hear that one more time. Binge eating is an out of control compulsive behavior that serves as a balancing act for a place in our life where we're in tight control. So when the body is overly stressed, it shifts from a relaxed state, technically that's called a parasympathetic nervous system dominance. So when we're stressed, we shift from a relaxed state to a stress state. Technically that's called a sympathetic nervous system dominance. We call this stress chemistry because there's so many psychophysiological shifts happening here, just as there would be from the stress chemistry created in response to a tiger trying to eat you. So these are the same survival instincts that our ancestors had to help them survive back in the day. But today, our threats really aren't lions and tigers and bears so much. It's overworking, it's overwhelm, it's lack of time, lack of help, it's food restrictions, self-imposed food restrictions, aka diets, fear of getting fat, fear of getting on the scale, the pressure to win, fill in the blank. So when you're experiencing a real or perceived stressor, okay, very important, or threat, the body then can go into a fight, flight, freeze, or feed response, FEED. So just like the flight, fight, or freeze response, this feed response happens automatically, compulsively. And really, it's the body's way of trying to look after you and maintain homeostasis. What does that mean? Well, when high stress builds, okay, binge eating can happen to reduce the stress and regulate emotions, okay, balancing act. The brain learns after enough food is consumed, especially in high amounts, the body has to shift, okay, from a stress state to a relaxed state, literally, in order to digest the food. So over time it learns, okay, I feel bad, I eat food, feel bad, I'm relaxed. So again, once again, serving as a balancing act to a tightly controlled something else. Does that make sense? So if you do the feel stressed or feel bad, eat food, feel better enough times, your body basically codes that into your unconscious, into your conscious mind, and that becomes an automatic act to help you balance your stress response. Boom, it just happens. So this feed response, this balancing act happens automatically, okay? Similar to when you get hot. What happens when you get hot? You start to sweat. Can you sit there and you see little beads on your forearm and say, stop sweating? No, you can't do that, right? You feel powerless when that happens, right? It's just a compulsive act, but it's a balancing act. It's powerful. But you feel just as powerless when you feel or experience a true binge episode. It's just as compulsive. It's also unconscious. It's part of our survival instinct to maintain balance. So it's not a personal thing. You're not a weakling, all right? It's part of your survival instinct, so stop shaming yourself. Now, you might have also heard me say a moment ago that food restriction is also a threat and can provoke a binge episode. Why is that? Well, think about it. If you're restricting your calories because maybe you're afraid to binge, or you're afraid to gain weight, you're afraid of fat, you're afraid of carbs, or whatever that reason, okay, you're putting your body in a nutritionally stressed state. Many of my clients report binging after a period of time when they were restricting, right? As I'm sure you can relate. Being either malnourished in calories or just simply specific macronutrients really puts the body into stress chemistry, right? And you back at risk for binge eating, but the body here is stressed and calling for nourishment. So your brain and body are wired to keep you alive and ensure you don't starve to death. So if you're restricting, you're putting yourself at risk for binge eating because a binge equals a balancing act to a tightly controlled macronutrient intake. Are you getting this? So restriction doesn't only come in the form of nutrients. Oftentimes that's kind of what we're working with, but it also comes in the form of restriction from enjoyment of your meals. What does that mean? It means you could be eating enough calories technically, right? You're putting in MyFitnessPal and you're like, ooh, I'm meeting my daily goal. But if you aren't enjoying what you're eating, your brain, it didn't get in the full check in the box that you ate. So over the course of the day or over the course of the week, your brain is going to send you signals like, you got to eat that ice cream, you got to eat those cookies, those things that are super pleasurable, though all those things that you're trying to avoid. Why? Because avoiding pleasure in food and your eating experience, it's like avoiding oxygen to breathe. Try holding your breath for 2 minutes. Watch what happens after you allow yourself to breathe. You gasp for air, right? And so when you deprive yourself of enjoying any food that you put into your body, at some point, you're gonna gasp for pleasure. And it's gonna feel extreme because finding pleasure in food is a psychophysiological need as a human being. You can't escape that. You can't block that out. So again, this is where, once again, many create belief systems that I'm addicted to food or I can't, again, control myself around certain foods. But really, in reality, their body is just acting out on their behalf to ensure that they ate, they survived, and lived another day. So as you can see, you're not addicted to food. There's nothing wrong with you. You aren't a weak person that's simply sabotaging your success because you personally can't be trusted around food. Your body is just doing what it's supposed to do. It's looking out for you on your behalf. So now the question becomes, what do you need to do to help you relax more or regulate your emotional state better? Or what do you need to do better to nourish your body throughout the day to help reduce your risk of binge eating? How can you give your body what it's asking? So I hope that this has given you some light bulb moments about your binge eating. I'd love to hear from you how this resonated. Keep me posted, put some comments below. But before you go, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you keep up with the fascinating world of eating psychology and mind-body nutrition and finally take back control of your eating challenges.